The silent invasion. They came in the night. No flashing lights, no massive ships darkening the sky, just silence. The Meridian Collective arrived on Earth with the gentle touch of rain on summer soil, and by morning, they had already begun their work. The first sign something was wrong came when President Reyes of the United Americas gave her address on the global water crisis. Her words were perfect, her posture impeccable. But her eyes, they were wrong. Empty. Watching the broadcast from her apartment in New Singapore, Captain Ileana Wade knew immediately. 20 years in Earth's Defense Force had taught her to recognize a threat, even one wearing human skin. "They're already here," she whispered, fingers trembling as she switched off the screen. Within days, other world leaders followed. Speeches delivered with mechanical precision. Decisions made with cold logic, and all with those same vacant eyes. The Meridians didn't announce themselves. They didn't need to. They simply replaced those in power, like surgeons excising tumors, bloodless and precise. By the time humanity realized what was happening, 40% of Earth's leadership had been compromised. Captain Wade was summoned to the hidden EDF facility beneath the Pacific. Admiral Zhang, one of the few high-ranking officials still human, looked decades older than his 60 years as he greeted her. "It's worse than we thought, Ileana," he said, leading her through security checkpoints. "These aren't just body snatchers. There's something worse, consciousness parasites. They don't replace the body. They override the mind while keeping the host intact." "How is that possible?" Wade asked, following him down to sub-level 19 where the air smelled of metal and fear. "Their technology is beyond us. They somehow attach themselves to the human neural network without any visible presence. No implants, no physical changes. The host remains physically identical, but completely under their control." The final security door slid open, revealing a massive hangar. And there she was, the Defiance, Earth's secret last-ditch project, a ship unlike any other built by human hands. "She's beautiful," Wade breathed. The vessel was sleek, smaller than traditional battleships, but gleaming with the dull sheen of metamaterials and quantum-state alloys. Unlike the bulky military vessels Wade had commanded before, the Defiance was elegant, almost predatory in her lines. "She's yours," Zhang said simply, "if you'll take her." Wade turned, eyes narrowing. "There's more to this than a simple command assignment." Zhang nodded. "The Defiance isn't just our most advanced ship. She's carrying our last hope, Project Orpheus." Screens illuminated around them, revealing schematics of a device unlike anything Wade had seen before. "What am I looking at?" "A consciousness disruptor," Zhang explained. "Theoretical until 6 months ago when Dr. Seto had her breakthrough. It generates a field that can separate consciousness from a host." "You mean kill?" "No, the host survives, but any foreign consciousness controlling it is expelled. We've tested it on small scale with the infected we've managed to capture. It works." Wade studied the schematics with growing understanding. "But it's not powerful enough to clear the planet." "No, it needs to be deployed at the source, the Meridian mothership. Our intel suggests they operate as a hive mind. Disrupt the Queen, you disrupt them all." Wade's heart sank. "You're asking for a suicide mission." "I'm asking for humanity's salvation," Zhang countered. "The Defiance has experimental shielding that might let you get close enough to deploy Orpheus. After that," he left the sentence unfinished. Outside the facility, the world was falling apart. Reports filtered in hourly, military units turning on their own people, power grids failing, communications networks going dark. The Meridians were methodical, taking control of Earth's infrastructure piece by piece. Wade spent 3 days selecting her crew. She needed the best, but also people she could trust absolutely. In the end, she chose 7. Dr. Maya Sato, the brilliant physicist who created Project Orpheus, quiet, reserved, but with fire in her eyes when she spoke of her creation. Commander Jackson Wei, Wade's former XO and the best pilot in the fleet, steady hands, and a steadier heart. Lieutenant Amara Okafor, weapons specialist, young and fierce, with reflexes like lightning. Chief Engineer Dmitry Volkov, gruff, built like a bear, and able to coax miracles from machinery. Dr. Nisha Patel, xenobiologist, the only human to have autopsied a Meridian host and lived to analyze the data. Specialist Marco Rodriguez, former Special Forces, a man of few words but lethal skills. And finally, HFY, the ship's artificial resistance intelligence architecture, an AI specifically designed to counter Meridian psychic intrusions. This is everyone, Zhang asked as the small team assembled beside the Defiance. 7 is enough, Wade replied. Any more increases the risk of detection. The Admiral didn't argue. They both knew the odds. Launch is scheduled for 400. The Meridians have control of most orbital defenses, but we've identified a blind spot in their coverage. That night, Wade couldn't sleep. She stood in her temporary quarters, staring at the photograph of her daughter Luna, now safe in the underground colonies beneath Mars. If Wade failed, even that sanctuary wouldn't remain safe for long. "I'm coming back," she whispered to the image. "I promise." The Defiance launched in darkness, silent as a ghost. Its revolutionary engines left no heat signature. It all absorbed radar rather than reflecting it. As they slipped past Earth's defensive grid, Wade felt a chill. Satellites that should have been active were dark. Orbital platforms hung silent in space. The Meridians had been more efficient than anyone realized. Approaching lunar orbit, Wei announced from the pilot's seat. No signs of pursuit. Wade nodded. HFY, begin passive scans. Let's find their mothership. The AI's voice was calm, almost musical. Scanning local space. Captain, I'm detecting an unusual energy signature at the L2 Lagrange point. It appears to be cloaked. Show me. The main view screen shifted, displaying what appeared to be empty space. Then HFY applied filters, and the image transformed. The Meridian mothership materialized like a nightmare, a massive structure that resembled a neural network made physical. No clean lines or recognizable architecture, just an organic, pulsing mass stretching nearly 10 kilometers across. "My God," Okafor whispered. That's not a ship," Dr. Patel said, leaning forward. "It's a living organism." Wade felt ice in her veins, but kept her voice steady. "Set course, Commander Wei. Take us in slow." The Defiance crept toward the massive entity, its advanced stealth systems their only protection. As they drew closer, the true horror of the Meridian vessel became clear. It wasn't metal and machinery. It was tissue and synapse, a giant brain floating in space, pulsing with alien thoughts. "I'm detecting multiple smaller crafts departing the structure," HFY reported. "They appear to be heading toward Earth." More infiltrators, Wade thought grimly. More human minds to be overridden. "How close do we need to be?" she asked Dr. Sato. The physicist studied her readings. "The Orpheus device needs to be within 5 kilometers of the central mass to affect the entire structure." "That's too close," Volkov growled. "Their defenses will detect us." "We have no choice," Wade replied. "Commander Wei, continue approach. Lieutenant Okafor, ready defensive systems, but do not engage unless I give the order. We are invisible until we aren't." The Defiance slipped closer to the neural monstrosity. 3 kilometers. 2. 1. "Captain," HFY's voice took on an urgent tone. "We're being scanned." Wade tensed. "Source." "The scan is. It's psychic in nature. The Meridian entity is attempting to locate us by sensing our consciousness." Dr. Patel looked up sharply. "That's not possible. They couldn't have." She never finished the sentence. Her eyes suddenly went blank, her posture stiffening. "It's in her," Rodriguez shouted, drawing his sidearm. "No," Wade commanded. "Don't shoot." Dr. Patel's body moved with jerky precision, reaching for the ship's controls. Rodriguez tackled her, but not before she managed to trigger the emergency beacon. "We've been compromised," Araya announced. "Meridian forces are converging on our position." The view screen showed smaller entities, each the size of a standard Earth shuttle, breaking off from the mothership and moving toward them with terrifying speed. "Defensive systems online," Okafor reported, fingers dancing across her console. Wade made her decision. "All hands, prepare for emergency approach. We're going in hot." "Captain," Wei warned, "the stealth system can't handle combat maneuvers. We don't have a choice anymore. They know we're here." Wade strapped herself into the command chair. "Set course directly for the central mass. Maximum speed." The Defiance leaped forward, engines howling as they abandoned stealth for speed. The Meridian vessels pursued, strange energy weapons lashing out and striking the ship's shields. "Shields at 80%, Volkov reported. "Those aren't conventional weapons. They're trying to interface with our systems." On the view screen, the massive neural structure loomed larger. At its center, a pulsing core glowed with sickly light, the heart of the Meridian consciousness. "That's our target," Wade said, pointing. "Commander Wei, can you get us there?" Wei's hands were steady on the controls. "Yes, ma'am. But I can't promise I can get us out again." Wade met his eyes briefly. "One problem at a time, Commander." More hits rocked the ship. The pursuing vessels were closing in, their attacks growing more coordinated. "Shields at 60%, Volkov called out. "We can't take much more of this." Dr. Sato looked up from the Orpheus controls, her face pale but determined. "Captain, I can activate Orpheus now. But at this distance, the effect will be limited." "Will it hurt them?" Wade asked. "Yes, but it won't stop them." Another blast hit them, harder this time. The ship shuddered violently. "Shields at 40%, Volkov shouted. "Hull breach on deck 3. Wade made her decision. "Okafor, return fire. Target their propulsion systems only. We need to slow them down, not destroy them." The Defiance's weapons flared to life, striking the nearest Meridian vessels. The aliens reacted strangely. The hit vessels didn't explode or break apart, but instead shuddered as if in pain, their movements becoming erratic. "They feel it," Patel whispered, having recovered from the psychic attack. "They're connected to the mothership. They feel each other's pain." Wade's eyes narrowed. "That's it. Dr. Sato, prepare Orpheus for full deployment." "Commander Wei, take us straight into the heart of that thing." We looked back, eyes wide. "Captain, if we go in there, we're not coming out. If we don't go in there, humanity doesn't survive," Wade replied calmly. "Take us in." The Defiance plunged toward the pulsing core of the Meridian entity, weapons firing continuously to clear a path. The alien vessels seemed confused by the direct approach, their movements becoming less coordinated as the human ship penetrated deeper into their living structure. 1 kilometer to the core, Araya announced. "Meridian psychic interference increasing. I am experiencing difficulty." The AI's voice distorted, and the ship's lights flickered. "They're trying to take control of our systems," Volkov growled, fingers flying over his console. "I'm implementing emergency protocols." Wade watched as the central mass grew closer, its pulsations speeding up as if the entity was agitated. "Dr. Sato, status of Orpheus." "Ready for deployment, Captain. But at this range, the feedback will likely overload our systems." "Understood." Wade opened the shipwide comm. "All hands, this is the captain. We are about to deploy Project Orpheus. Brace for system overload and prepare for emergency procedures." She took one last look at the image of her daughter tucked into her console, then nodded to Dr. Sato. "Do it." Dr. Sato activated Orpheus, and for a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then a wave of energy unlike anything Wade had ever seen erupted from the ship, expanding outward in concentric rings of shimmering blue-white light. Where the energy touched the neural structure, the tissue convulsed. The entire entity began to writhe, its steady pulsations becoming chaotic, frenzied. Inside the Defiance, systems overloaded. Consoles sparked, emergency lights flashed on, and the artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. "It's working," Dr. Seto shouted over the din. "The Meridian consciousness is being disrupted." Outside, the smaller vessels stopped their pursuit, floating aimlessly as their connection to the mothership was severed. But the victory came at a cost. The Defiance was dying, its systems failing catastrophically as the Orpheus device consumed all available power. "Engine failure imminent," Araya announced, her voice distorting. "Hull integrity compromised on multiple decks." Wade gripped her chair as the ship shuddered violently. "All hands, prepare for impact. We're going to crash into the core." The Defiance plunged deeper into the neural mass, trailing fire and debris. The view screen showed the core growing larger, a pulsing, writhing center of alien consciousness, now thrashing in what could only be described as agony. "Captain," Wei called out, fighting the controls. "I can try to pull up, maybe skirt the edge instead of a direct hit." Wade considered their options. A direct hit would ensure Orpheus affected the entire entity, but would certainly destroy the Defiance. Skirting the edge might give them a chance to survive, but could leave the mission incomplete. The image of her daughter flashed in her mind. "Negative, Commander," she said firmly. "Take us straight in. We finish this." The Defiance hurtled toward the core of the Meridian entity, Orpheus still pumping out waves of consciousness-disrupting energy. The alien structure's convulsions grew more violent, pieces of its neural tissue breaking apart and floating away into space. As they closed the final distance, Wade thought she heard something, not with her ears, but inside her mind. A scream, vast and ancient, filled with confusion and fear. The Meridians were afraid. Impact in 3, 2, 1. Wei counted down. The Defiance slammed into the core of the alien entity, and everything went white. The impossible victory. Captain Ileana Wade opened her eyes to darkness and pain. Her head throbbed, and something warm trickled down her temple. Blood. The command deck of the Defiance was eerily silent, emergency lights casting red shadows across shattered consoles and buckled flooring. "Status report," she croaked, then coughed as acrid smoke filled her lungs. No one answered. Wade unstrapped herself from the command chair, wincing as pain shot through her ribs. Probably broken, she thought, but she'd survived worse. She fumbled for the emergency light on her uniform and switched it on, illuminating the devastation around her. Commander Wei was slumped over the navigation console, a gash across his forehead, but his chest still rising and falling. Lieutenant Okafor lay nearby, already stirring with a groan. Dr. Seto was nowhere to be seen. "Araya," Wade called out. "System status." The AI's voice came through broken and distorted. "Psi systems, critical. Life support at 27% capacity. Hull breaches on multiple decks. We are embedded within the Meridian neural structure." Wade limped to Wei's station and gently shook him. "Commander Jackson, wake up." Wei's eyes fluttered open, disoriented at first, then focusing on Wade's face. "Captain, did it work?" "I don't know yet." Wade helped him sit up, then turned to Okafor, who was now conscious and checking her wounds. "Lieutenant, can you access weapons?" Okafor dragged herself to her station. "Trying, Captain. Systems are fried, but I might be able to." She stopped abruptly, staring at her console. "Captain, you need to see this." Wade moved to her side, ignoring the stabbing pain in her ribs. The external cameras were mostly damaged, but one was still functioning, showing their surroundings. The Defiance had crashed deep into the neural core of the Meridian entity. Around them, the alien tissue pulsed weakly, its once vibrant colors now dull and fading. "It's dying," Wade whispered. The ship's emergency door hissed open, and Volkov staggered in, supporting Dr. Sato, who looked pale but determined. "Captain," the engineer reported, The lower decks are completely crushed. Rodriguez didn't make it. His voice caught. Dr. Patel is stabilizing the survivors in medical. Wade nodded grimly. Dr. Sato, what's happening to the Meridian entity? The physicist moved to a still-functioning console, her movements stiff from injury. Orpheus worked better than we anticipated. The disruption field separated the controlling Meridian consciousness from its neural network. She pointed at the screen. What we're seeing is the death throes of a hive mind. And the infiltrators on Earth? Wade asked. If the theory is correct, they should be severed from the central consciousness. The human hosts will regain control of their own minds. Hope flickered in Wade's chest, but she tamped it down. They weren't safe yet. Can you get any communication with Earth? Negative, Captain. All long-range communication systems are non-functional. However, I am detecting unusual activity within the Meridian structure surrounding us. The remaining view screen shifted, showing the neural tissue nearest to the ship. It was changing, cells reconfiguring themselves in patterns that seemed almost deliberate. What are we looking at? Wei asked, now standing beside Wade. Dr. Sato studied the images, her scientific curiosity overriding her pain. It's almost as if the structure is trying to communicate. That's impossible, Volkov growled. We killed their consciousness. No, Dr. Sato said slowly. We expelled the controlling consciousness. But neural tissue itself can hold memory, patterns. What if we're seeing something more fundamental than the Meridian overlay? Wade stared at the pulsing patterns. Can you analyze these formations? Is there any recognizable pattern? The eye was silent for a moment, then replied. The patterns appear to be a primitive form of binary communication. I am detecting repeating sequences that could be interpreted as a request. A request. Okafor echoed incredulously. These things tried to conquer us, and now they're making requests. What are they asking for? Wade pressed. Aria's voice was uncertain. Based on pattern recognition, the closest translation would be liberation. The command deck fell silent as the implication sank in. Liberation, Dr. Sato whispered. Captain, what if the Meridians weren't a species? What if they were a parasite that took over this? She gestured at the neural tissue around them. This entity, just as they tried to take over humanity. Wade's mind raced. You're suggesting the mothership itself is a victim. It would explain the reaction to Orpheus. Dr. Sato continued, excitement building in her voice despite their dire situation. The device was designed to expel foreign consciousness without harming the host. What if this entity was the original host, controlled by the Meridian parasite for so long it forgot its own identity? Wade turned to the view screen, watching the pulsing patterns with new eyes. Can you communicate back? Use the same patterns? I can attempt a primitive response, Captain. Tell them the parasite is gone. Ask them what they need. Minutes passed as Aria transmitted the message through the ship's remaining functional systems. Then, the neural tissue around them changed again, the patterns shifting into new formations. Translation suggests, help heal, long enslaved, others like us imprisoned. Wade exchanged glances with her surviving crew. Others? There are more of these entities. Captain, Dr. Patel's voice came over the intercom. I need to show you something. Can you come to medical? Wade made her way through the damaged corridors of the Defiance, each step sending pain through her injured ribs. When she reached the medical bay, she found Dr. Patel standing over the body of Dr. Patel, or rather, what had once appeared to be Dr. Patel. The corpse on the table was changing, its human features melting away to reveal something else. A small, spider-like creature with iridescent blue skin and multiple compound eyes. It emerged from her brain stem after we crashed, Dr. Patel explained, her voice shaking. The real Dr. Patel has been dead for weeks. This was controlling her. Wade stared at the alien parasite, now lifeless. This is a meridian. Yes. And there's something else. Dr. Patil moved to a scanner. Before it died, it changed. Orpheus didn't just sever its connection to the hive. It altered something fundamental in its biology, almost as if breaking the connection allowed it to become something else. Wade finished. Back on the command deck, Wade shared what she had seen. The implications were staggering. The Meridians weren't just parasites. They were themselves victims of some change that had turned them into parasitic controllers. Captain, ARI interrupted. The neural entity is communicating again. More complex patterns now. I believe it's trying to interface directly with our systems. Is that safe? Wei asked. Dr. Seto considered. If this entity truly was a victim, not an aggressor, it might be our only chance to understand what really happened, and possibly our only way to get home. Wade made her decision. ARI, allow limited interface. Security protocols at maximum. The ship's remaining operational screens flickered, then filled with images, not text or code, but emotions translated into visual form. The crew watched, transfixed, as a story unfolded before them. The neural entities, vast, peaceful beings that once drifted through space, communicating through thought and energy. The arrival of small, spider-like creatures seeking symbiosis, the partnership that turned to parasitism as the smaller creatures evolved to control rather than cooperate. The spread across galaxies as more neural entities were captured and enslaved, their vast powers harnessed to dominate other species. And finally, humanity, the first species to create technology that could break the parasitic bond. They'd been enslaved for millennia, Dr. Seto whispered, using these entities as living ships, as weapons. And now they're free, Wade said. Because of us. The neural entity's communication shifted again, now showing the defiance, not as it currently was, broken and embedded in alien tissue, but whole, repaired, flying through space. I believe, ARI interpreted, it is offering to help us. Over the next 3 days, the crew of the Defiance witnessed something miraculous. The neural entity began to heal, not just itself, but the ship. Tendrils of living tissue worked their way through damaged systems, repairing, reshaping, integrating. It's not consuming the ship, Volkov reported with amazement after inspecting the repairs. It's enhancing it. These circuits are now 10 times more efficient than before. Symbiosis, Dr. Sato said. True symbiosis, not parasitism. On the 4th day, the Defiance's communication systems came back online, rebuilt with technology beyond human understanding. Wade wasted no time contacting Earth. Admiral Zhang's face appeared on the screen. Tired but very much himself. Captain Wade. My God, we thought you were lost. We nearly were, sir, Wade replied. Status of Earth. Chaotic but improving. 3 days ago, every compromised individual suddenly collapsed. When they woke up, they were themselves again, confused, traumatized, but free. The Meridian parasites die shortly after separation. He leaned closer to the screen. What happened up there, Captain? Wade glanced around at her surviving crew, then at the living walls of their now hybrid ship. We found unexpected allies, sir, and I think this is just the beginning. 2 weeks later, the Defiance returned to Earth orbit, but not as it had left. The ship was transformed, a perfect fusion of human technology and living neural tissue. It moved with grace beyond anything human engineers had ever achieved, its systems operating on principles that would take scientists decades to understand. In the rebuilt observation deck, Wade stood with her surviving crew, watching Earth grow larger in the view screen. Beside them, a portion of the wall pulsed gently, the neural entity's way of maintaining presence. What do we tell them? Wei asked quietly. Wade considered the question. Humanity had faced extinction and survived, but the universe they had discovered was far more complex than anyone had imagined. The Meridian parasites had been defeated, but there were more neural entities to free, More worlds that had been subjugated. We tell them the truth, she finally said. That we're not alone, but we're not helpless either. That humanity just took its first real step into the galaxy, and we did it by showing compassion, not just strength. Dr. Seto smiled. Liberation, not domination. And our new friend? Okafor asked, gesturing toward the pulsing wall. What about it? Wade placed her hand against the living tissue, feeling the gentle warmth and the subtle patterns of communication. We offer it a home, and we learn from each other. Then we find the others like it and free them too. Through their newly established connection, the neural entity conveyed agreement and something more. Gratitude, yes, but also excitement. For millennia, it had been a slave, forced to conquer and destroy. Now, partnered with humans who valued its autonomy, it could help build instead. As the Defiance entered Earth's atmosphere, its hull glowing with re-entry heat that the living components somehow distributed harmlessly, Wade thought about her daughter waiting on Mars. Soon, she would see her again, and she would tell her about a future brighter than anyone could have imagined. The Meridian threat was gone, but humanity's journey was just beginning. With their new allies, beings as vast as space itself, humans would venture to stars they had only dreamed of reaching. Not as conquerors, but as liberators, not through dominance, but through understanding. As Admiral Zhang had said when Wade explained their discovery, we went looking for a way to save ourselves, and instead, we found a way to save the galaxy. The Defiance touched down at the EDF headquarters, now a hybrid vessel unlike anything seen before on Earth. Crowds had gathered, despite the authorities' attempts to keep the landing secret. People needed hope after the trauma of near extinction, and the return of the ship many had believed lost forever provided exactly that. Wade stood at the main airlock, her crew beside her. Ready? She asked. They nodded, faces solemn but determined. The door opened, and Captain Ileana Wade stepped onto Earth soil, the first human to return from what would later be called the Liberation War. Behind her came her crew, and with them, the beginning of humanity's true place among the stars. Not as the strongest species, but as the one that understood freedom was worth fighting for, even for those who couldn't fight for themselves. And deep within the hybrid ship that had once been the Defiance, the neural entity pulsed with life and purpose. For the first time in countless millennia, it had a name, given by the humans who had freed it: Hope. For Earth, for the neural entities still enslaved across the galaxy, and for all species suffering under parasitic control, hope was just the beginning.